Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Allison. Today's guest is Kevin Kearns. This guy here is a martial artist, a corporate wellness coach, a keynote speaker, and an author. He's been through his own fair share of adversities, starting as a youth to the point of even losing his dad. And he's been through his own fair share of adversities, and he developed the skill and the will of just becoming resilient in life. And he's here to talk to us about his story. And I can't wait to get into this conversation. Let's go. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the Overcoming Adversity podcast, brother, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, man.
How are you, Michael? Great to have you. I also, don't forget, too, I'm also 33 years now, personal trainer.
Hey, man, I just want to applaud you for all of that, man, and your accomplishments. I know we talked a good bit off stage, man, but to hear some of the things that you've been through and hear your story, and to encompass now personal training and all of these things that you're doing, man, it's totally a testament to yourself, your perseverance, and all the things that you've been through, man. So congratulations on all the success that you've gained so far, man.
As they say, as my Thai boxing coach, because that's my foundation is more Thai boxing, cup, which means thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. So let's dive into this, man. So
nice.
I looked up your story, man, and read a good bit about you. You got 2 books out, and I know your story is about someone who's been bullied. You lost your dad at a young age. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you become the man that you are now today from your story, man?
It's a great question. So this is my dad's ring. It's been on since I was 12. I don't take it off. I always say if you're going to get hit with the cross, my right cross, that's the whole Kearns clan that's going to hit you. So my story is, I grew up in a 3-family in Everett. We weren't that wealthy at all. Actually, we were kind of poor. And that kind of, both my parents grew up during the Depression. My mother was one of 8. My father was one of 4. Mm-hmm. My family was great. My dad, even though my dad died when I was 12, he was only 48. I'm approaching 58. So it's like, wow. So my adversity started a little early because I'm actually adopted too. So I always tell people, like, my name is Irish and French Canadian, but I always say I'm half Italian because the way I cook and I eat. Anyway, plus I can dance too. Thanks to hanging out with the brothers and my guys can't dance. Most of them just can't. Anyway, so the way it was built is, I always, when I go do keynotes in front of schools and everything else, I said, I made myself an athlete. And for a fact, a soldier isn't born, a soldier's made. An athlete isn't born, an athlete's made. I sucked at every sport. I was awful. The only thing I could play was softball. And I literally, my title, my first book, Always Pick Last, was true. They picked me. Well, take Kevin, let's having nobody on the team. Literally. The only thing I could do was play softball. And it was embarrassing as hell. And the bullying started at a very early age. We're talking about 5. And then when my father passed, it got 10 times worse. They were picking on me. They were doing stuff to my mother's house. You name it. It just kept going. Thank God. I mean, we had at one point a big family, but people have passed away and everything else. I had 31 first cousins. 31. Well, my auntie Chris had 11 kids.
That's a big old family, man.
You're gonna love this one. My mother was very, God rest her soul, was very Catholic, and she said, I go, Auntie Chris had 11 kids. So there was the LeClairs. So when you went up to the LeClairs, right, that was a good time because you always had somebody to play with. She says, well, she has 11 kids because she has 2 cycles. I said, no, Ma, she has 2 kids because Uncle Al won't get off of her. I'm sorry, everybody out there. I'm basic. I'm from Boston. We're blunt and let everybody know I am the real Batman, okay? So that, a close uncle of mine, because my family was great. Loving family, the whole bit. We didn't have a lot of money, but you know what? We had that. We had that union, okay? Always family dinner, the whole bit. And my mother was smart enough. It was difficult. She had to kind of push me away because I kept going to her. Because think about it. I mean, I'm 12 and I'm looking at my father in a casket for like a week straight. That really messes up your head. Talk about PTSD.
Right.
And then from the age of 12 to 21, my sister and I went to a funeral every year for our family. Every year.
Wow.
So, my will says, you know what? I want a Viking funeral. Put me on a wooden boat, maple logs, give me my samurai swords, light me on fire, push me out. That's what I want. Seriously. Why? I don't want anybody wasting the grass space on me. The dirt, forget that. Anyway, a close uncle of mine talked me into taking karate. And it literally, United Studios of Self-Defense, Charlie Materia and Paul Taylor. I still speak to Charlie every once in a while. They're out in the Vegas area. That literally, I learned, if you practice, you get better. If you practice, you get better. And I established something very early on when I was that young. My father he was a building inspector. He was really good with people, really good with people. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew Jackie Kearns, Jackie Kearns. My mother, same thing, gregarious. She could talk to anybody. That's where I get it from. So I got smart at 13 because we got like a weightlifting set, and like a universal, and I got friendly with the older guys that looked like Big Jim and GI Joes. I said, "Hey, can you guys teach me weightlifting?" Never thought I was literally strong. So I went from 130. By the time I was 15 or 16, I was 155,
Wow.
and I could bench press 275, no problem.
Wow, you took it serious.
The interesting thing is, and this is why I love martial arts so much, or sports or anything else, it's the discipline.
Yeah.
When motivation dies, discipline has to take over. It
Do
really
you
does.
do you think that you picked up the martial arts and all of those things? Was it because of either the bullying, or do you think it was because of like at some point your dad passed away, so you were seeking something else or looking for something else to get involved with?
No, it's definitely the bullying because the tough thing I had. I appreciate the question. The tough thing I had was I can still remember the moment with my aunt D. I realized, because I cried so much it was ridiculous. I realized that anger was easier than sadness. So I became
Mm.
very angry, very angry. I lost my father. These kids are picking on me, the whole bit. And my mother bought me a punching bag when I was 14. It was 50 pounds. I broke it in half in 2 months. Then she got me a heavier one. And I literally, like I said, I'm good. I made friends easy. So now we had a local gym. I'm working out at the gym, and some of the people would take me into their wing. So Louis Nuzzo, this guy, he's long past, big, huge, and he was a kickboxer. And he knew the situation because Everett was a small city. He never called me Kevin. Hey kid, come here. This kid. So the first bully was my ex best friend. Now, when you go to high school, now you meet new people. So the next bully that he pushed after me was this kid, Dennis Burbaum. Now I'm 5'5". Dennis was 6'2" and 210. That's a lot to deal with, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to deal with that. So Louis pulled me aside and says, "Hey, kid," he goes, "come here." He goes, "I know this kid's giving you a hard time." I go, "Yeah. Yeah, Louis." He goes, "You have a heavy bag?" I go, "Yeah." "You punch it?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have a cement wall in your basement?" I went, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "I want you to front kick and side kick that cement wall like it's him." And I literally wore out the paint in my basement. Seriously.
let, let me ask you this. I Now that you're someone that's in the martial arts space, right? Do you think at that particular time, did you know or did you cognitively think that this is a way to like transfer my energy into something else, or no?
No. You know what? I take a page from Dr. Wayne Dyer. I think there's an old quote. I don't know who said it. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Mm,
Totally laid out. People say, "I'm so sorry you lost your father. I'm so sorry you lost your father." I go, "Look, I wouldn't be the man I am today and before that if I didn't lose my dad."
correct.
Now, the good part is I learned over time into my 20s, I'm like, you know what? This temper thing has to stop. Because if somebody looked at me sideways, I get in their face and I would encourage them and go ahead, swing, and that's not healthy, you know,
Hmm.
it really isn't.
So when she got into the martial arts and the fitness space, where did this space actually take your life and take your career and take your journey, man? Because you've been doing it for well over 2 decades now, man. 3 decades, right? So obviously you've been in it. You've been helping people. You've been working with people, man. Can you tell us about your journey in regards to taking what you started as a kid to now a business, man, and now you're helping transforming people's lives?
It's such it's a, I find it interesting, but then again, I got to toot my own horn. The interesting thing was I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my
Hmm.
life, but I was a fitness freak. I was working in the food industry, Italian food industry. That's why I can cook. And my original plan when I was in high school was I got my black belt at 17, my first one. I was going to literally move to Japan, study for 10 years and open a school. And then it kind of went sideways. So I met one of my best friends. I lost contact with him for years, Al Jackson. I was like 19 or 20, and he was 26, ex-military. Best looking African American guy you ever seen in his life. He had a tiny waist, big chest, big arms. He had a smile like you light up the sky in a flat top. I would go clubbing with them, and I get his throwbacks. The women that seriously, I'm like I'm his wingman, man. So we became training partners. So our schedules like dictated. So for like 2 or 3 years, we were training 5 days a week, lifting 5 days a week, and Al and I would just push each other. We were maniacs, in our 20s. And then, he and I were thinking about going to physical therapy. I said, well, that'd be cool. The problem was physical therapy back then was a 4-year degree. Now, I had 60 credits from Bunker Hill. They wanted me to drop the credits and start as a freshman. I went, I don't think so. So then the backup plan was to apply to UMass Boston. Al wanted to go nursing. I went, maybe I'll try that. So I applied to the nursing program, but my grades weren't good enough. So I applied to the physical education department. Now, here's the true story. Talk about the universe. I'm at Bertucci's in Somerville, which is a well-known pizza place. Back then, these kids don't know how easy you had it. You had to have a catalog to pick out your classes, right? You had to have a catalog. So one of the waitresses, one of the waitresses had gone to UMass Boston. So I'm picking out my classes because I'm going as a sophomore, right? In my that's September. It's 1987. I'm 21. So I was taking nursing classes on the side, but I had to take exercise. My concentration was exercise physiology. I had to take other classes to kind of keep them. I was kind of working it, if you know what I mean. Now here's the true, absolute story. Dr. David Thomas, I hope he's still alive. He was my first professor. Excuse me. I went to his first class, Exercise Physiology 101. I'm a sophomore and I'm in a junior level class. Nobody caught me. 1 week of lectures, I changed my whole major. Boom.
What did he say?
It's the exercise. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm like, I can still tell you chapter verses from McCradle Catch and Catch Exercise Physiology 101. It just fascinated me. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Personal training wasn't even a thing then. Like Madonna had a personal trainer, but there was no personal trainers in Boston.
Right.
I didn't even, people say, I always laugh at like, what was your plan? My plan was no plan. I believe like Eric Thompson says, right? Skill set, mindset, opportunity. That's what I tell, I've got a certification business with my system that I train the fighters on, the UFC fighters, my 15 guys, and I built into a certification. I tell my guys all the time, I go, look, skill set, mindset, opportunity. When an opportunity knocks, you have to decide. Is it a good opportunity? You never know. And like, you know what? If you fall, you fall. Screw it and do it. So that's literally the true story. And then I did my internship with one of the first personal trainers in Boston. I had a knack for it. I'm like, okay. Then I literally started my company. I had 4 jobs. I was living in Pembroke, Mass, closer to my girlfriend, my ex-wife. I was living in Pembroke, Mass, in a 500 square foot apartment, taking care of a stroke patient 3 hours a day in exchange for rent. And I had 3 other jobs. And I started my business. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing.
So you starting a business, right? And obviously it took a while for you to figure this out and started to gain some traction and stuff like that. But now it's thriving, man. Can you talk a little bit about what are some of the things within your business? Like you just mentioned a couple of things in regards to the 3 things, right? That you work with USC. But can you talk to us a little bit about when someone works with you or come to you about your business, based off of your principles, your values, and your standards, and all of the concepts that you're teaching, what is somebody getting when they come to work with you, man?
Well, the first thing I tell them, like whenever I do a workshop or certification, or I've got, we've got the fitness side of it, right? The wellness side, we've got the martial arts side of it. Our new thing is be your own bodyguard for realtors and nurses. We teach them self-defense tactics. I keynote speak, on my books, the whole bit. So, the first thing I tell them is, as far as a business model, right? First thing you got to do is you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to pivot, because with things, if you put too much energy in something and if you're not paying attention, I just saw Napoleon, and what killed Napoleon was his ego.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say, let's do this. Like I just started some Muay Thai classes at a gym about 2 months ago. Wasn't getting participation. I hacked it. Move on. Cut your losses and go. So I think you got to be able to respond to that. I think you also have to be in touch with the market. Things change. What they
Yes.
get with me is real simple. They get my four decades of martial art training, and I still train every day. 3 decades in the fitness field, and I've done corporate wellness for UPS, Tufts Medical, you name it, I've done it. I've done studios. I owned a gym for 10 years. I've done just about everything in this field. And then what you'll get is somebody who's the best way that people describe me is I'm authentic, high level of integrity, character, and honor. So that's what you get. You're going to get the right program. When I first started this, and I hope this is okay for your listeners. When I first started this in the beginning, I remember being at a gym in the 90s. And one guy I knew who did like timber, he took down trees. He was like, "Oh, you must be getting laid a lot." I go, "What?" He's like, "Well, you're going into these women houses." I go, "Bro, excuse my French. I don't shit where I eat."
Mm-hmm.
And you had trainers that would do that. And
Yeah.
I'm disgusted at stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew that when I got married in 94, I started my business in 1990. When I got married in 1994, I had 30 clients at my wedding. My mother almost literally shit herself. There's another one coming. There's another one coming. Because I had people tell me, "Oh, we'll see what happens in 5 years. We'll see what happens in 10 years. We'll see what happens in 15 years." Okay, guys, it's 34 years later. Now, has it been easy? No. I started a gym with the client, high-level client, in 1995. Happiest day is when I bought the gym. Second happiest day is when I sold it. It's like buying a boat. It's a hard business, and I'm a lousy manager. I didn't know that in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward, I got lucky enough, right place, right time at Sit Yatong with Mark Delagrati, one of the best striking coaches on the planet. I ended up working with some of the amateurs, put a system together, and then I ended up working with 15 UFC fighters, people like Kenny Florian, Marcus Davis, all those guys. Put it on DVD on a shoestring. It went global. Never expected it.
Opportunity.
Well, here was the opportunity. And I appreciate the opportunity was this. I was at my first fight with Kenny, second fight with Kenny and Florian, and the editor from Ultimate Grappling came over to me. Ultimate MMA came over to me. I told him about the weight cut. He goes, "Can you write that?" I'm not the best writer, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I can write that. So I learned, and you probably know this as well, I learned a very, very smart thing right away, okay? This is before Chat GPT and all the crap. If you give your editor the stuff early, they love you and they'll come to you all the time. That went from 1 magazine to 5 magazines I wrote. Literally. I was like writing constantly. I'm like, okay, that sucks. Okay. And it's funny because when I go in front of schools or colleges, I go, I'm a C- in English. I'm a C-. I tell kids, I go, I'm a 2.895. You know what my professor told me? Not to change gears. You know what my professor, Dr. David Thomas, told me when I was 24, when I got my degree? You know what he told me?
What he told you?
I want the kids to listen to this. Listen. He told me I graduated with a 2.895. That's a low B. Okay?
Yeah.
He said to me, he goes, we're having a beer in his office. I'm proud of you, Kevin. I'm like, what, Dave? You never say that. He says, no, really. He goes, it's not, and this is a good pearl for kids. It's not always the ones that get 4.0s that do well in life. It's the ones that, like you, that have to grind to get a B.
Absolutely.
And I've always remembered that. I am a grinder. This tattoo right here, that's Thai. Sumbak Sumbam, be relentless. And when you say perseverance, that's my saying. Hold your vision, keep your passion, maintain and invest in your perseverance. So I don't forget.
So let me ask you this, man. So obviously I know that there's a story behind the story.
Always.
And you've obviously gained some success in business, right? But through all of that, I know that does not come with any adversity or any challenges or anything like that. Can you take us, because you also mentioned that you've been divorced and stuff like that. Business was not perfect. Can you share some examples of some of the things that you've been through that were probably some of the most challenges that brought you to probably like some of your lowest points or to just a rock bottom for you, man?
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that question. Technically, you might say I have mental illness. I got divorced in 2018 to my college sweetheart. My marriage went sideways after she became an alcoholic. Put up with it for a while. She got sober, but it went sideways. I couldn't deal with it anymore. And this is somebody I've known for 30 years. Messy divorce, very messy. And then you go from, as you know, you've been there. You go from your dream house to now I'm in 1,100 square feet and I'm seeing my kids every other weekend. That messes with your mind.
Right.
No, I mean, you have any kids?
Yeah, I got 2 kids, 2 boys.
So you probably get it, right? I mean, remember the first weekend, you're like, you're alone. You're like, what do I do with myself? I've been a father for 15. I didn't know what to do with myself. So then now, of course the intimacy was gone. So now you're on the apps and I'm like, I had to get out there and go, do I have anything still? I'm like, do I? And then that is a whole shit show in itself, right, bro? It's a shit show, right? You're not going to nightclubs. Hey, no, you're not doing that. You're going on the apps. And I've said this before on the dating apps. It's easy to meet people. It's hard to meet quality people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other problem too is it's like a buffet. Oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that's difficult to manage. So you meet a very strange pool. So all that kind of led, and my business started going sideways, and the kids, it led to a deep depression in 2019. I started getting more and more depressed about just everything. And then my ex, I'll say this, I don't mind saying this, she actually convinced my kids to move out. I came home at one point, my kids moved out. And that pushed me over the edge when I did that. 2019. And then I looked for a spot. I looked for a spot in the Tobin Bridge the next day because I got myself sewed up. Looked for a spot in the Tobin Bridge the next day to jump off. A state trooper saw me, sent me to my therapist, and he committed me. I woke up at McLean Hospital, thank God for them. McLean Hospital in Belmont, Christmas Eve 2024. And thank God for ECT therapy, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be here. Nope. And that's why if you go to McLean Hospital, Deconstructing Stigma, which is one of their big pushes globally, Oprah's involved, Howie Mandel's, I'm one of their poster childs. And that's why I wrote this. Because you know what? If I can get through it, you can get through it.
Kevin, man, I don't really want to gloss over that, man, because I know you articulated that and you shared your story, but you just mentioned suicide twice, if our listeners didn't catch that. And in this day and age, suicide rate is at an all-time high, and it just keeps on climbing and climbing with so many other factors that's attributed to that, And for yourself speaking, right, you were in a state of, I was a family man, and all of a sudden my life changed just like that.
Gone.
And to go through that, obviously you got the help, because thank God you're still here, man, because
thank you.
Obviously that's devastating, brother. If you can, man, for that guy that's listening to this podcast, right, and probably at their wits right now, man, or just hearing your story, or just for our listeners, man, can you talk to us about, if you could say what that was kind of like, what was you going through, and if you could give us some words of encouragement, or what were some of the things that you put in place to help you get through this? I know you went through a program, so if you want to share anything from the program that helped you got to where you're at now today.
I appreciate that question. I know some people say you talk a little too fast over that. I'm like, because it's tough. And I just, had a depressive episode in September because my apartment where I'm moving out from, the guy across from me was a pig. He moved out and the cockroaches came to my place. And they did nothing for me. They didn't.
You have such a great sense of humor.
Yeah, thanks. They did nothing for me. They didn't take money off my rent. They didn't do anything for me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. So I'm literally out of here. I mean, think about it. I wake up in the morning, there's a cockroach in my dishwasher. Are you kidding me? And you go someplace else? That messes with your head. I wasn't sleeping, And one thing I realize is when you're in depressive state, sleep, everything's getting messed up. So that guy, that girl, that person out there that's on their wits end, listen, I get it. Been there, done that. I've got the T-shirts, they're right in my closet, so I get it. Okay? I get it. And here's what you need to do. And it gives me goosebumps. Look, I can't fake that. You need to talk to somebody. Find somebody. Talk to them. I don't care if it's a priest. I don't care if it's a rabbi. I don't care who it is. And anybody else that you talk to, and this is for people that may know that person, okay? This is what you need to do. You know what? I'd rather have them pissed off. If you were in a situation, Michael, and we're friends, which we are now, and you were in a situation and I thought something was wrong, I would bug the shit out of you. You would hate me. I go, you know what, Michael, I'd rather have you hate me and you're alive, then hate me dead. Right? You
And I
gotta,
would appreciate that.
it's the hidden wound, man. We are a tribe. People got to stop putting all this bullshit aside. We are a tribe animal, right? We have to help each other. My life is about service. That's why I wrote this. This is painful. And why I call it there's light in the tunnel, because when you're going through that shitstorm, you're going through the suicidal ideation, the anxiety, the depression, what happens? You're saying F a lot. And you know what? When people say, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel, you don't want to know that. You don't want to know that. I'm sure you've been in firefights and you want to sit there, oh, it'll almost be over. You're going, am I going to die? I mean, I can't imagine what military go through and how they survive and how they pull it together. Oh, shut up, would you? I can't stand that thing some days. So get your network together. Now, after I went through mine, I made sure I had a network. I had a network of friends. I have a network of people. I've got a therapist. I had a network. I knew that if I had any dip, see, the McLean people are so good. And I don't mean to just push them, but they're so good because they're like, listen, we are here when you need this. And the toughest part about this, excuse me, for everybody out there listening, and this was in an article I did a couple years from New York Weekly. It's the hidden wounds. If I have a cast on my arm, what happened to your arm? If I'm in cancer, oh, you got cancer. You say you're depressed, suicidal ideation, and anxiety. People go, what? You can't see that. It's internal. And the other thing I've learned, I've been listening to Eric Thompson a lot this week. You have, and Les Brown, I love both of them. I'm going to be standing next to them. Watch me, and I'm going to be on a TEDx in 2024. I'm going to be on about this stuff. I am not stopping until I get on a TEDx. Watch me.
You will.
Said it, ain't it, think it. Now, that being said, you have to get with, it's like we have a 4S formula with our anti-bullying program. Speak up, stand up, stay together, self-defense. Stay together. Find those people. And you know what, guys out there? Yeah, I know. It sucks to be sad. It sucks to cry, but it's okay. It doesn't make you less of a man. I challenge everybody when they had their baby for the first time. I tell you didn't tell me you didn't bawl your eyes out if you had a daughter, especially. Please, but it's not. I don't want to hear the suck it up and all that bullshit. Forget that. It's okay to have feelings. That's why they're feelings, and then they're information. The other thing I want you to remember, this and think about this long and hard. Two things, okay? Two things. No storm lasts forever in your life. No storm lasts forever. Second thing. Remember, you woke up today. Somebody didn't. Somebody did it.
You know what, Kevin? Your message and your story is quite profound because as I'm hearing it, right, I think about men and quite a lot of us grow up in the day and age of being tough, kind of like
Oh,
what you
yeah.
were saying, and don't talk about things, right? So for you to say what you're saying, to be vulnerable, to be transparent, and now in the space of like helping people and talking to people, man, I think that is something that I think a lot of men lack. A lot of people lack, but I think a lot of men per se in that category lack that. Can you talk a little bit about what was it like for you to shun that and not even like incorporate that into your mindset to
Oh,
say like, I'm going through this. I've been through this, and now I'm going to talk about this and get on stages and talk to people and help people.
I appreciate that question. You know what it was? I was guilty of my ego. I'm Coach Kearns. I've trained 15 UFC fighters. I can handle it. And what is the acronym for ego? Edging God out. Ego is not your amigo. I went inside. I didn't really talk to my friends. I didn't speak about it. I didn't let it out. That was the tough part. So, it's I understand it's hard. It's difficult. And you'll have people say, suck it up. You listen to men talk, you listen to women talk. If you tell me a problem, hey, no, here's what you're going to do, Michael, do this. You hear women, oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry. So you have to, there's no such thing as male and female energy. We have both. Both of us have both. I'm sure you serve with women in the military. They're tough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it last year? There was a ranger. She was like one of the first female rangers. They wanted to change the requirements, and she said, "No way." I love that. I love that. They can handle themselves. Why not? I don't have any problem with a woman right behind me in battle. Let's go. Let's do it. Like I always tell, when I meet my next partner, I always say, you know what? When the zombies come, all I want to know is you're going to sit there. You're going to grab a sword. I'm going to grab a sword. I'm going to say, I'll take the left. You take the right. One who comes back with more head. One who comes back with more heads with the zombies buys the drinks. That's about it, right? And and I think the challenge is this: we're so wound up on this thing, we're afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah, man.
I can't. I hate to say this, and I'm sorry to say that. No, I'm not actually. I'm actually not sorry to this. I can't wait till social media dies, really, because I think it's been a serious problem. And let's go back real quick. And I know we have to wrap up. Let's go back to mental health. WHO, World Health Organization, last year said 798 million people have some mental health disorder. Do you know what the largest increase is in the U.S.? Age group? 11 to 17-year-olds. 11 to 17-year-olds. Doesn't it scare you, Michael? It scares the hell out of me.
It does, man. And I was speaking at a school earlier this year, and me and the principal was talking, and we're talking about my story and how I can make an impact to share my story with the students and things like that. And I have a teenager too now, so I was talking to her and what the message that we wanted to get to the students, and it's so profound, man, that these kids that she's telling me the stories of the kids that's within the school of how social media has become such a distraction, and it causes them to live in this world of where they can't even be their true authentic selves or anything like that. And they live in this world of comparison, and it's from time to time, if not day to day, they're getting different students inside of their office talking to them, complaining about something, to the point of where counselors are involved, parents are involved. And so she's about my age too, so she was telling me that, when I was going through schools, we went to the principal's office to get like butt whoopings.
Seriously. Well, somebody new in my life said to me, she's a teacher, very intelligent. And I won't say the school system. They had a third grader. You ready for this? They had a third grader last year. It's okay to swear? Okay.
Go ahead, man.
They had a third grader tell the chief of police to go fuck himself. Third grader. You believe that? So she had a great take. Audrey had a great take on this. She said, you know what? She says, they haven't learned the social skill in which they need to learn that sometimes you can't say that to certain people because you're going to get whacked out. Like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, the plan works until you get punched in the face. Now, as a teacher, right? As a teacher, they had a kid last year stand on top of a desk. They can't take them physically off the desk because they'll get sued. And if they fall off the desk, they're going to get sued. So they have to keep them safe. I said, you know what? Right across the head.
Man, these times are so different, man. These times are so different.
I'm glad you and I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because you know what? We didn't have all this crap, And if you opened your mouth to the wrong person, you got cracked.
Most definitely. You know what, Kevin, man, you wrote 2 books, and one of them spoke about bullying. And I know that means a lot to the youth now, because obviously bullying takes places in different eras too. That even ties into the social media.
Absolutely.
But I want you to talk a little bit about your book, why you wrote the book, and what can audience get from this book, man.
Always Pick Glass is a true story. It's actually, to me, I always say I'm hoping. No, it will get made into a movie at one point. It was made into a play, believe it or not. It was made into a play in 2016, and autistic actors acted it. I was in it, which I didn't want to be. And I'm like, I don't know how to act. And we had 200 people in the audience, and all the proceeds went to autism. So thank you for Camille, for Emerson Collaborative Group. They were great to me. So the idea behind the book kind of spawned, and I said, you know what? My first ghostwriter wasn't easy. My first ghostwriter took $4,000 of my money and ripped me off, took notes of my chapter. I was disenfranchised with it until 2011. Then I met Kit Birmingham through a friend. She didn't have any time. She got me on the phone. She goes, I heard your passion for this. And I said I had to do it. She didn't charge me at all first year. Wow. And when my ex-wife was going through her recovery, I was on the phone with Kit for 2 hours while she was at her AA meetings. So this book, the idea behind this book is real simple. Kit said to me, what do you want to do with this? I said, help some people. She says, good, because if you said you want to make $1 million, I'll tell you you're crazy. It doesn't mean it can't happen. I said, kid, you know what? If I get one kid to flip and think they're worth it, think they can do something, we've won. If we're an Oprah, I got 2 daughters going to go to college anyway. So you know what? I got to make some money. You know, the idea is I want this book and I want that book. People have told me over and over again, and I'll figure out how to do it. This book should be in every school system. People read that, they're like, oh my God, I thought you were talking to me, because that's how it reads, you know. And then it shows the evolution of what I went through. My father dying, this, that, the picking on, the bullying get worse, and then martial arts. And there's a key point to it. And I'm not going to tell you. You got to read it. I'll send you a copy. And then, the idea behind the whole anti-bullying program. Because when we started researching in 2011, it was off the hook. It was like people started to get precedent. Like she found an article on a Japanese boy in Japan at 13 that was mock hanged by his bullies, and he finally did it himself. 13. Wow. It's kind of scary, right? I mean, I've got a kid, I've got a girl in Taunton I was training for a while. Her mother reached out to me. She was 14. The new thing now in school systems is the mean girls, they tag team on you. And the mean girls grab one girl, they grab her hair, start punching her. The other girl films it, and they put it on Instagram. Ridiculous. I mean, you know what? Kids like that, you know what I want to do with them? Bring them to my class.
I could only imagine.
Bring them to my class. Like, I just got a contract with Boys and Girls Club Pawtucket to teach anti-bullying self-defense. And believe me, it's going to be militaristic. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be line up, stand up, yes sir, no sir. You get out of line. What happens when you get out of line? Corporal punch, 2 push-ups. You don't like it, leave. You either going to see the value or leave.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big problem with our youth nowadays is simple. For the people that do the bullying, consequences. What's the consequence? What's the consequence? You and I both know there's consequences to our actions. There's consequences to our actions,
Man, thank you for what you're doing, man. And thank you for the book. I look forward to my copy, man. You also wrote another book. If you can, I think this one here is the one that when I was looking at it, and I had to check the title twice, because it says there's light in the tunnel, and we always hear there's light at the end of the tunnel. And as I interpreted that, so I interpreted it as for me faith-based, as in, like, when I'm going through the valley, or I'm going through something, right? There's something there, lessons there within that of what you're dealing with. But if you can, man, that's how I interpreted the book. I haven't got my copy yet, but if you can, tell me a little bit, man, about why you wrote this book and what your readers get from this book too as well.
Well, that was a very hard time in my life. And I decided after all the help I got from McLean and my friends and my family, especially my sister, very supportive, that I have to help somebody with this. Like, I look at it this way. I'm a big fan of Dr. Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer. My life is about to serve. How can I serve? How can my experience going through, depression, suicidal ideation, how can that help people? What can that be? So I came up with the idea of, and I have to thank my first therapist, Dina Brubrick, because she used to say this all the time. There's light in the tunnel. When I was going through the throes of my ex's alcoholism and recovery, there's light in the tunnel. There's light in the tunnel because have you ever had a rough flight?
Yeah, all the time. Actually, a lot lately.
So, and aren't you? And you're in the flight, right? You're sitting there going, and the pilot gets on, and he says, "We'll be through this in 15 minutes." They're like, "Fuck no, I want to be through this now." So that's what I equate it to, right? I equate it to when you're feeling that anxiety, that fear, that suicidal ideation, or that depression. You want it over. You don't want people saying, "Oh, there's light in the end of the tunnel." No, I want it done now. I want this over now. I don't want to feel like this. Now, at the end of the day, the idea behind it was real simple. The idea behind it is I said, if I can, like, some people have read it like, oh, well, this is this book is kind of negative compared to your first one. I go, what is depression? Depression is negative. Guess what? You can't have north without south. You can't have positive without a negative. It doesn't work. North Pole, South Pole. Okay. But the idea behind this is how I got through it. You got to show the bad side. And that's a thing that I love about Eric Thompson. Love that guy. He says, you know what? People don't know the story behind the glory. Everyone puts up there what's going good with their life. Look, sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, bullshit. Rocky right there. Life, I have his quote everywhere. Life ain't no sunshine and rainbows. The world's going to hit you pretty hard. And ain't how hard you can get hit is how hard you can get hit and get back up and keep
Get
moving
back
forward.
up.
That's what it's all about, right? And you know what? Here's the problem. Here's the challenge, not the problem. Rock bottom is a good foundation. How do you know? You know, how do you know? My business was going great. Boom, I get a messy divorce, the whole 9 yards. I end up, attempted suicide, the whole 9 yards, came out of McLean. Boom, I'm in 2020. Bang, COVID hits. I lost 90% of my business overnight. 90% during COVID.
Hmm.
I work with fitness places, martial arts schools, gone. And in the Northeast, we're still rebuilding. So you know what? I'm like, what do? You just keep, you just gotta, some days you just gotta put one foot in front of the other. And I think Eric Thompson said again today, I was listening to him, he said it best, and I believe David Goggins said it too, and Les Brown. You have to have, and this is a tough concept, you have to have, I'm still working on it, you have to have self-compassion. You have to be self-compassionate to yourself. Like Les Brown said this, if I would have known better, I would have done better, right? I would have known better, I would have done better. How do we know? Jackie Bonwell was a phenomenal yoga teacher. She's well known in Massachusetts. I know we got to wrap up. She's well known in Massachusetts. And she came in one day, and she always said something profound. She said, 45 people in class, she said, you know what? I had an epiphany today. We should call it kindsight versus hindsight, because how do you know until you went through it? You know what? Some days, she would say this, the fact that you showed up and unrolled your mats, 90% of it. The rest of it's all judgment. And we gotta throw out shoulda, coulda, woulda. Throw it out. And you know what drives me nuts? People don't realize the word but, right? Michael, I like you, but what does that say? I just negated it.
Negated everything from the beginning.
Versus Michael, I like you, and right? Or however, I'm like, people don't, it's subliminal. And I've had people get mad at me when I say that. I go, and like, no, it's but. I go, well, you just negated it.
Yeah.
I go, look it up in the dictionary for Christ's sake.
Yeah. So go ahead. Finish your point.
This book was about getting into school systems, getting into colleges, because I saw the writing on the wall with COVID. I go, this is going to push everybody. My friend Sean Shinnick, who is part of the Deconstruct the Stigma, said to me, he goes, you know what? COVID was the pandemic, but it exposed the true epidemic of mental illness. It really is.
It did. It really illuminated quite a few things with companies, with people, and it surely brought out the true character in people and businesses all across the world, globally, man.
Yeah, I mean, it really tore this. It tore the fabric of the not even American, the fabric of the human culture apart.
Yeah.
We don't talk anymore. It's mass. You separate it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
I don't believe that we know the social, mental implications of that whole period yet. We haven't reached it. But in the end, you know what? Keep going forward.
Most definitely. So, Kevin, man, if you can share with us some words of wisdom based off of your life, your story, your experiences, because you've been through it, man. We haven't even gotten to your entire story. You've been through a lot of stuff, right?
A few things.
You've been through a lot, man, and your story obviously is true perseverance, true resilience, and like I said, man, I applaud you, man, because obviously you could not be here several years ago, right? So, and you're still here to talk about it. And I love that you're making a difference. So you're going into the schools, you're going into the communities, you're going into the companies, you're working with realtors and different people just to help them with all of the things that you've actually been through in your life. So you already walked in those shoes. You've experienced it, man. What are some words of wisdom that our listeners could take away, man, from your story?
Real simple. If you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. Okay? If you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. Don't talk about it. You better walk it. You better live it. Like, in the dating world, people are like, oh, I see you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm intimidated. You're in so much shape. I'm like, I don't have a choice. Who's going to listen to the fat coach? Nobody. I got to stay in shape, right? The other one I would say is find your why. Why are you here? What are you doing? Forget the how. The how will get handled. What is your why? What is your what? And then just keep going. Just keep going. I don't care if it's music. I don't care if it's writing a book. Who cares if any, you know what? The fact that God gave you the book and the universe gave you the book, that's enough. Who cares if anyone reads it? Just write it. Write it and get it done. You know, I would say the third thing is get, sorry. I'll have to, it's another phone. Sorry. That's my next call. I would say the next thing is, you know, find your vision, find your passion, and remember, you have to have perseverance. You have to have perseverance. And the last thing I would say is real simple. You know, people look at me and they say, let's describe you. I've been described as authentic, high level of honor, high level of character, and my integrity. And I will not break my word. If I give you my word, I keep my word. And if you screw up, guess what? Fix it. This is something I used to tell my kids. If you've done it, own it, fix it. Simple. That's it.
Simple as that. Wise words from Kevin, man. Kevin, if anybody wanted to work with you, book you for speaking, get you on a TEDx stage, how can they get a hold of you, man?
Real simple. Kevin at burnwithkearns.com. Or go to the website. You can, and here's, I'm going to tell people this, okay? Guess what? I have a phone and I pick it up. 508-404-8503. Got it? I answer. I'm not a text person. Simple.
There you have it, everybody. You said the call.
And, you know, we've got, whether it be TEDx, we also do online training. We do a bunch of stuff. We do it all. Corporate, you name it.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on Overcoming Diversity podcast, man. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me. Again, from my Thai boxing background, cup. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you leave a comment. But first and foremost, make sure you share it with a family, a friend, or a loved one. I know that this story could help so many people, man. Thank you so much.
Can't complain at all. Couple dollars in my pocket, no income and go. Been working on my body, getting healthier. Thank God for clarity.